Hey everybody, Curtis Everett with Saint Studios Films. I know it's been a while since I've checked in, but I had previously said that I was going to go on a 6-month break from about March to September from New Project Generation, but recently I've started to feel more creative. I had some health problems going on and I got those taken care of and I've recovered, thank God. And so I feel creative again, and so I'm going to start working on new projects. I'm going to ease back into it, but so many people have asked me, how do I make a movie? I need a lot of help, I need a lot of resources to make a movie, and I see all these people doing challenges like the 48-hour film challenge, the 24-hour film challenge. And I've done, I did, I think, a 48-hour one time, and to me, like, it wasn't much of a challenge. And so I wanted to really challenge myself as a filmmaker, and I said, how can I do that? So what I'm going to do is tomorrow I'm actually going to go on a little adventure, and I'll post pictures after I do it. But I've had this movie idea in my head, just this really creepy movie, and I'm going to travel, about 2 hours from my house to go somewhere special to film it by myself. So I'm going to make an entire movie from start to finish by myself. And, I'm going to use different tools and different resources available to me on the internet. But as far as who all is involved and who all's in the movie, it's just going to be me. So if it's absolutely terrible, I'm the only one to blame. But I just wrote an outline. I was just sitting here after dinner feeling pretty inspired. So I wrote this outline for, what I'm going to do with the movie. And I'll probably elaborate just a little bit on this outline and maybe lay out some conversations a little bit more, or at least on the way. I'll have time tomorrow. I mean, I have 2 hours there. Um, but I'm also going to use some of the dash cam footage, of my journey there. And, I'll have my phone here, to film me while I'm driving a little bit since I'm a character. But it should be a lot of fun. I'm glad I'm finally feeling creative again. I hope everybody's been doing well. So I'm working on this project and another project that I've, started work on. I've broken ground on with Melvin and Mitchell, was called Reservoir Shark. That's, a new project of mine. We had a distribution deal for our movie Pool Shark, where it got on DVD in Japan. And so I thought to myself, it'd be nice to do another shark movie. So that's another thing that I'm working on along with this movie. But I just wanted to kind of challenge myself and make a movie just with myself. And hopefully it goes okay. Anyway, y'all have a good day. Well, I'm home sweet home. I started writing this up at the gas station, and I was at Quick Trip in Pearl, and I'm sitting there writing. So I hammered out about 2-3 pages. But there was this old guy in this Buick LeSabre, and he kept trying to park around me. And the thing is, I was parked in the parking space, in the lines, and then he parks on my left side at a 45. But then I guess he decides, I'm going to straighten up. So he backs out, and then he parks on my right side at a 45-degree angle. And then he just backs out and he decides, I'm going to circle the whole building. And I'm like, okay, good, he's gone. And then he comes back around the building, and I said, you better not run into me. And then he parks right next to me and, gets out. But it just was really unnerving, and I just broke my concentration there writing. So now I've got to get back into it. But yeah, I got about 3 pages hammered out, and these are the big pages. I actually bought this pad from the gas station. I wish I just kept spare notepads on me, because sometimes I have ideas and I just want to start writing. And so I'm actually writing the actual script for this movie. I'm actually going to be filming it later today. I mean, I'll get a little bit of sleep before I go. But once I wake up, I have a few scenes I'm going to be filming around the house here. And, I'll walk you through some of the things I'm going to do and some of the things I'm going to film. One thing that's interesting about this project so far is I came up with several character names. I know that I'm going to have at least 4 characters, and I'll be playing all of them. Actually, I guess 5 characters that I'm playing all of. And so one of them has a very simple name, so I'm not worried about that. But the other 4, they actually have real names. And what's funny is I thought I nailed which name goes with who and which character. And then as I start writing, I'm like, you know what? I think, this character, I like this name with this last name better. And so I just started kind of playing with the names a little bit before I started writing. And so my character, his name is Pete Cranston. That's the main character. And then there's going to be some other characters that show up. And I had the idea, so tomorrow I'm going, or I guess later today, I'm going to Rodney, which is a town that I've been to. I've been to Rodney before, and for whatever reason, I just, I can't stop thinking about it. And I thought, you know what, it'd be cool just to go back here and make just a really eerie movie about a town and a town that's disappeared. But in the script, I'm not going to call the town Rodney. I don't know. I'm just, for whatever reason. So I made up my own town name. And what's cool about the internet is they have generators for anything. And so if you think, oh, like I need this kind of name for this, you can usually look up, such and such generator. So I looked up something called Town Generator, and what I ended up with, it wasn't exactly, what came up, but I'm going to call the town Stockton Bend. I'm in the process of writing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, write a character at a time and take a little break in between. But I'm going to try to dedicate about 3 pages per character. These are big pages, honestly. Like, usually I use the mini pad folios. And so this big old pad, I bet it's probably like 2 or 3 minutes per page, and I don't know how many pages I'll actually end up with in the end. But it's nice to have some sort of script when you're going into something. Another thing that's cool is I've already written a little bit of music using Udio, which is, that's an AI software music generator that you can pay to subscribe to. So I've already written several great tracks to use in the editing process when I get around to doing that. And I've also played around a little bit with Kling AI for the special effects. I'm going to just take a bunch of photos. And when that way I'll have plenty of photos. And so I can play special effects later if I need to. And, I'll try to give myself flexibility. But some of the filming that I'll do tomorrow before I leave, I've written a scene, to where it's out front and with the mailbox, but I've also written a scene in the kitchen. But then also, we're going to utilize the green screen a little bit for the different personas and the different costumes and stuff. That way, I don't have to take all those costumes. So the movie's called Vine, and I thought it would be cool to have some scenes where like vines are, wrapping around me or wrapping around stuff. So, all right, I'm going to get back to writing. I just wanted to, make this video journal. So I woke up before my alarm this morning, and that's a good sign, that I'm wanting to go film today. But then I also have feelings of doubt and, do I need to really go do this? And do I really need to go film this? And last night I stayed up a little bit late. I wrote most of the script, but then I was saving the last character, kind of the finale piece, for writing today. So I'm going to get some coffee going, and I'm going to take my medicine, and hopefully that will help. And yeah, we'll take it from there, and then hopefully I'll get to be filming pretty soon. I'm going to shower up. I mean, the leading man has to look the part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish writing this script. I have about 1 really big scene left. I thought about writing it on the way, but that's kind of dangerous to write while you drive, especially with a pen. So I'm going to finish that first, and then I'm going to start knocking these scenes out. In a second, I'll show you what my setup is. Phone tripod head, and so that's what I'm going to be filming off for the most part. If I have any shots that are moving, I have something in the car I can show you, which is just a rig. But see how wide that is at the base, and so it's low profile, and hopefully people won't run into it if I do come across anybody. And I am doing a little bit of green screen work for this movie, but the whole thing is not going to be green screen. I'm actually going to go out there and film it at the place. I just think some of the costume changes and stuff can be done with a green screen background because they're all conversations, and I don't want to pack all those costumes with me. So be resourceful when you make movies. So I finished the script. It's on one of these big notepads, and so it's 11 handwritten pages. So I don't even have to print it. I can just bring this with me all day. And so gonna start shooting pretty soon. I'm gonna finish my cup of noodles and my cup of coffee, and then I'll get after it. So one of the props in this movie is an envelope. This is just, something I like to do. I've used it in a lot of different movies. I've used it in, I guess mail. So Queen Dracula, both of those movies had a sequence like this. But anyway, so the regular envelope says, "To whom it may concern," and then you flip it over. "Help us, the forgotten town of Stockton Bend." So another thing I did is there's going to be a scene where, the thing starts talking. So I made one that will talk. So these are two different envelopes, obviously, because, I made two of them. Whenever you're making a movie like this, you don't want to just make one prop. You want to make doubles if you have something where, you're going to have a dramatic change like this. Because I have scenes I have to do with this, but then I also have scenes I have to do with this. And, you don't want to have to stop and make two different envelopes when you're in the middle of it. You want to go ahead and have those ready to go at the beginning. So this is going to be the first shot of the movie. One thing I'm going to do is, as you can see, I have the grid on. And so, I have it lined up to where the majority of the action is going to take place on this third of the grid. But then also, because the movie is called Vine, I wanted to get a little bit of that in there because, I got a vine growing on my window. That'll be perfect for the title card. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and do the shot. I, have set it up on the tripod. I'm going to get the camera rolling. Okay, so I finished filming the scene outside with the letter, and I finished filming a scene here in the kitchen, but it is really hot. I had to take that shirt off for a minute. I'm going to take a break, play some video games. But then I'm going to knock out the green screen stuff. And then after I do the green screen stuff, I'll be getting on the road. So hopefully I'll be on the road by about 3 o'clock, which will put me there at about 5 o'clock to do the filming out there. Yeah. So in the script, I wrote 3 different characters. This is the priest character outfit. And then there's a scientist character. And then there's a sheriff character. These are just costumes that I had from other productions. So originally, I had thought about going to this place called Rodney. The thing is, it's like 2 hours away. I mean, it's great, but here's the problem is because it is an abandoned, derelict ghost town pretty much, I don't know if some of those buildings are still standing. They're not well preserved. So I made the decision, I'm just going to go to the Ag Museum, pay whatever it costs to get in, and just film around there. I think that'll save me from having to take such a long journey. And, that'll be fun. I've filmed there before, and I've done different projects there over the years. So, the thing is, they will have buildings. They will be maintained. I don't want to drive 2 hours and get to this town and there's nothing there because all the buildings fell in, or maybe they fenced it off. I don't know. There's just all sorts of different circumstances, but I think I'm just going to go spend an hour at the Ag Museum or so and, do the filming that I need to do. So on the way there, yeah, gonna pull some of this dash cam footage anyway because, I live way out in the sticks, so it'll still make for a good travel video. Had some boring bees in my carport, so hopefully there's not a bunch of sawdust in front of the dash cam. So I just wrapped. Yay! I went to the Ag Museum instead of Rodney, which is probably a good call because it started to rain a little bit here, so I'm sure Rodney, I saw some pictures where they had flooded down there, so that was kind of strange looking. It would have made for a great movie though. But anyway, so the Ag Museum, they let me in for free. I guess it's because I got there so late. I was there the last hour, and I was like, I had pulled my debit card out, and I was ready to pay to go in, and they were like, no, go on. So I just walked around, and I was largely, I didn't interact with a whole lot of people. There was, maybe one guy who worked in the general store who came out and said something to me. But, I got the filming done, had just enough time. We're talking just enough time. If I left 5 minutes later, I don't think I would have got that movie done at the Ag Museum. I would have had to finish it on green screen, but I think I got enough shots. And worst case scenario, if I come up really short, I can go back, maybe do a few reshoots. But with the combination of everything that I've done, I just don't think that's going to be necessary. I don't think I'm going to have to do reshoots. I think we got plenty of driving footage and what have you. So anyway, this is a movie. I wrote the entire script, last night, into late last night, and then a couple scenes this morning, but hand wrote the script, and then I just went out there and did it. And some of the scenes, a few scenes I did at home, just because I didn't want to tote around a bunch of different costumes and stuff. But the good news is I think it'll all come together okay. I'm gonna have to change up, I had some different ideas about how I was gonna do there's a mirror that I was gonna use. I actually bought it. It was only $1.25 though, but I'll probably just end up using a digital mirror or something, because it's gonna be hard to Photoshop that curve in there. So anyway, I got that mirror for this movie, and I didn't even use the ball of yarn I got. It looks like a lot of the vine effects are going to be digital, but that's okay. But anyway, it's 5 o'clock, so I'm headed down Lakeland. It's going to be wonderful traffic all the way down Lakeland. So hopefully I'll get some dinner with AK. We'll see what she's up to. So, but yeah, that movie, it went pretty smooth, and I didn't have to drive 4 hours round trip. The Ag Museum is probably about 30-40 minutes away from my house versus 2 hours. And I didn't have to buy the gas to get 2 hours away, but then also I didn't have to buy, admission ticket for the Ag Museum. So that was kind of nice. It's little things. I'll make sure to throw a special thank you to the Ag Museum in the credits and say that I filmed there at the Ag Museum, because that's such a great place. It's a great place for photography. It's a great place for videography. I'll be getting around to editing it at some point, but did a lot of acquisition today. Not only shot the film, but tried to do my best to kind of do a documentary as I'm making of. I thought it was fun. It was challenging. It definitely was a time crunch. But if you've been doing this for several years, you got to do stuff like this to kind of zest it up and, find what makes you happy again. That's the thing, is I've just had a hard time being creative. For a while, I was just really sick, and so the creativity just waned. But now that I'm feeling better, I feel like, oh, well, I can get back out there and make movies again. But, I'm starting slow, starting small. I'm doing this project, and I'm going to work on Reservoir Shark, so I need to press stop, so I'll stop talking.